It says that, like,
Recording in progress, right in the
Yes,
middle of
it's
oh,
Willow trying to
okay.
talk.
I was trying to do some troubleshooting just now about sharing my screen. It says that the host is, it's
Okay,
disabled,
no, we'll
so,
do it live. We'll
we'll
do it
do
live, and
this.
if
It
it
all
doesn't
goes
work,
I need
live.
permission.
Here you
if it
go.
doesn't work, it's David. Um,
Cool.
Welcome everybody to the Withcp podcast. What was once the CP3D series, which is now just the Withcp podcast on YouTube. We've got some special guests today that are responsible for a lot of what you see at Common Power, but you don't see them. And so you're going to get a chance to see them now, talk about their work. You see it on our website, you see it on our social media, if you use social media anymore. And then you see it around the city on billboards and buses right now as a way for us to prime the pump and get people in to be volunteers with us. So we've got Wole Akinlosotu, who runs our marketing and communications departments. He's been with us since 2019, way back in the day, in the very beginning. Um, Single-handedly responsible for getting us to digital from fully in person when COVID hit. Immediately after COVID hit, when we all got back from Iowa and maybe brought COVID to Seattle. Uh, and then we got Willow, who is the primary designer for all the beautiful stuff that you see all over our marketing pieces. So thank you all for taking your Friday to come and hang out with us for a bit.
For sure. Good to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So these are just fun kind of deep dives. Looking forward to whatever you're going to say or share. So I'm driving down the road in or Ballard or north of Ballard on Aurora or whatever, and I practically crash because I see this billboard that has Common Power on it, and I'm like, we got billboards? We got billboards? So do we have billboards?
Wait, don't say it like that. Don't say it like that. That is a surprise to you. It was just very cool to see it, right? You knew the billboards were around.
Oh yeah, I knew there were billboards, but still, like it's large. It's large. Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But that experience you're talking about is the experience of a lot of our community members. They're driving and then they look up and they're like, holy crap, that's like my community. Those are my people.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Wole.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of having those billboards to get that shocking effect or that surprise effect that people have when they're just casually driving and they see people that they know in their faces and a logo and a brand that they're a part of. Um, yeah, it's a lot different than, just seeing an ad on your phone or a social media post. So yeah, we're happy to like be able to go that route and, create art, create a message that people are going to see on their daily drives home and that they're able to point out to their friends and family.
How many billboards do we have? Do we have displays on?
We have 6 currently.
6
All
around Seattle. Okay.
Yeah,
You
all
guys got a
throughout.
couple photos you can show us?
Oh yeah, I can share some right now. I have a couple that are up.
Did we get to choose the locations or did we not get to choose the locations?
We got to choose the locations. So right after Willow shares about the designs, I can share some of the locations we're in.
Yeah, can you see this on my screen right now?
Yeah, we can
Yep,
see it. This is
sure
good.
can.
So the right out of the gate, before we get into specifics about like what we're looking at here, you called it art, Wole. Why do you call it art and not just advertising?
I would say, I mean, there's a thin line. Art is advertising, and advertising can be art. For us, we took a lot of time to craft the message. We worked specifically with the photographer where we loved his work. His name is Owen Witzel. Shout out to him, and he took this photo. Um, so there was just a lot of thought and effort that went into the photography that's in this, the messaging behind it. and how it's all going to be put together. And so that's why I would consider it art. Also, the person who put together this design is an artist. So, I mean, Willow, do you want to share like how
Oh,
you came to
yeah,
create?
definitely. I would consider um, making designs for CP compared to any other civic space, corporate space. There's a lot more freedom in terms of the style that we have. And I think I've grown as a designer personally with CP, but that's also because you guys have given me the freedom to develop it. Um, and so making these designs, there's a lot of detail that goes into, the photos that we pick and that process, and also the textures and the text that we have. I mean, we kind of identify a lot of our designs with a lot of handwritten elements that were created before I joined as a staff member at CP. That was already kind of like one characteristic of CP style. And I think because of that, it gives a lot of freedom for putting my own touch on things and letting, our designs kind of break through the normal corporate, style that some nonprofits or other businesses have. So I do think it helps us be very unique, and that's what I kind of wanted to show through these designs. They are, bold and simple in the way they're laid out, but you can still kind of see, the edge that we have in terms of like our branding. So this is one of
So
my
the
favorite. Mhm.
this is one of your favorites? Why is
Yeah,
that?
definitely. I mean, the photo is great. I mean, it's showing
Hmm.
our volunteers. It's also like this messaging is probably the most direct in terms of describing who we are and what we do. And this was, so one of the designs that we probably pushed the most for billboards, how many billboards we have, and also some transit ads that we also are doing at the same time. And it's also, you see this on our website, you know, we talk about a lot on like in meetings or in community meetings, I guess I should say, that we're volunteers for voters. So definitely wanted to make sure this represented like that message well. Um, and yeah, I do like it. The photos that we got from Owen were great. It was easy to work with, and I had a lot of fun like pasting it kind of all together and making sure it was a layout that worked really well for billboards.
Yeah, and I mean, just to call some of these elements out here, the volunteer for voters and all of those are hand-drawn letters, right? You did those yourselves.
Yeah, all of the designs of these red letters that people are probably seeing like on the billboards, any ads that we have, even on the website now. These are all like handwritten from me. Like I take my time. This isn't my sloppy handwriting, like off the bat. This is a little more like cleaned up. But I kind of took it like to heart when we're like, okay, like our logo is literally hand drawn from the
Yeah.
original artist, and so I thought, okay, I need to carry that a little bit and see if I can make something that's similar. Um,
Okay.
so we
Can
did.
you pull up another one? And I want to, so Wole, let's go with what the thinking is behind this whole campaign for this season.
Yeah, I mean, so for this season, we wanted to shift the whole brand and let people know that this time was going to be a lot busier. It was going to be a lot more urgent for our community and the work that we do. And so, as we got closer to the election season, we wanted that urgency to be reflected in our logo and in the ads that we put out, which is why we leaned into using red letters, some bold statements like more action, less politics. We have two more: volunteer for voters, and the last one is voting isn't enough. Volunteer with common power. So we chose three statements that are bold that would, break through um, just general advertising and the general messaging that you see when it comes to political or civic organizations during this time. And yeah, that's what you're seeing here: the red lettering, the red colors, as well as for the pictures, we really wanted to highlight our community and make sure that our community could see themselves on these billboards and digital ads. Um, we made sure that we're using pictures of our volunteers in the field, taking action. As you can see, people are busy. We got people pointing on like what house to go to next, what neighborhoods they're canvassing next, and they're all figuring that out in these different instances. And Willow beautifully stitched them all together. These are three different situations all stitched together in one. So, yeah, you can share more about that, Willow.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all the photos that we get on the ground, I mean, these are actual volunteers, and they've given us permission to share, these photos on these billboards, which is great. Um, and yeah, sometimes it's hard to take photos on the ground. I mean, some of our volunteers know that, like us as marketing people, when we're on trips, know that people are busy. They're walking between houses a lot of times. Sometimes they're in groups, talking in pairs, planning out what to do next, and other groups like to like spread out immediately when they get out of the car and like cover as much territory as possible, which is great, but when we're trying to get a group photo, it's like, okay, we got to figure out how to follow and, not disturb the flow a lot of volunteers have.
Yeah.
Um, and so some of these, yeah, they're all different situations. They're all different times too. We have on the far left, two volunteers that are in Nevada. Like that's when we had Owen, the photographer that came with us and took that photo. In the middle, you'll probably recognize MJ and Ellie. That was when they were canvassing in, I believe it was Yakima last year.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, and then on the right is a photo from the Kemper District's event that happened, I believe, a few months ago, and the organizing that they did during that. Um, so definitely have to paint a picture basically from not only going through all our photo albums, because again, these photos are spanning at least a couple of years, and then finding the right photos that work together that I can somehow cut and blend together well, that they flow and make sense right next to each other.
Are there a couple
Um,
more? Are there a couple more too?
a couple more designs.
Yeah, just pictures or images.
Yeah, is there
Oh,
the
yeah.
voting isn't enough design? Let's pull that one up because I love that message. That's something that is the message is a built for Seattle one, a place
Mhm,
where for privileged folks who are, the voting is super easy here.
mhm,
And it's important for us to ship our extra capacity over to other states. For us in Washington State, voting is definitely not enough. And we've
mhm,
got to also volunteer. I love that message. It's a little edgy, it's calling people out. Um,
mhm. Yeah,
okay,
this
there we
is one of
go.
the designs. We have a fairly similar design for a billboard that I didn't get pulled up on time, but this is one of our transit ads actually. It's in a similar
Oh,
layout, same
that's good.
messaging.
It's on a
Mhm.
bus.
This is on interior card of the light rail. But yes, we do have also, people are going to see, we have another design that I can show. I think I have it pulled up. On the side of a bus in Seattle, we have several ads on the light rail where there's, the little interior cards. There's some posters I put on the wall. So definitely people that commute into Seattle, around Seattle, like they're going to see it too. We've gotten some photos already from people who've seen it. So I was excited to see that it's out and about. But yeah, this is the third message that Charles and Wole were talking about. The voting isn't enough. Um, and this message we talked about a lot to have a very specific placement to make sure that it was in certain areas of Seattle. Because we really did, like Charles, like you said, wanted to target our audience that are privileged in Seattle. They vote, they know the importance of voting. Maybe they already do participate civically in some type of way. But we are letting them know that in Washington, like, of course, vote. But if you are concerned about the election as a whole, that what matters more is that people are voting in swing states. And as someone in Seattle voting, it's not going to be enough, that you need to volunteer and participate in some way to help those people in swing states. And so that's what this message is trying to get across. It is kind of, it's definitely more bold. It calls people out a little bit more than our other messaging, but that's kind of purposeful. So,
I just
is
got a
also fun to
text,
do.
believe it or not, from Hanson Hossein, who said he drove by a bus in Bothell today with the CP banner ad on it.
Nice.
So he like,
Nice.
Oh,
And
here it
real
is
that one
actually.
right there.
Perfect.
That's a side
Yeah,
of
this is
bus
the
thing right
design.
there.
so that's the side of a bus.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Again,
want
very
to
different images.
I
Hmm.
want to ask you about the hand drawing of these letters, okay? Like that is, it speaks to the integrity of the process of creation that you and Wole and everybody at this organization has, okay? Um, so what's going in your mind when you're like, I'm gonna hand draw these? Like what's the design? Like help me who doesn't get design at all. I think we've established that over the many years. Okay, so what's going on for you?
Well, hold on
I
before that, because there's a like when the decision is made that these are going to be hand drawn, like your thoughts around that. But I mean, I think you said it a couple times. This pulls from the original logo, and
yes.
the original design, and it's right there in the bottom right corner. Um, the original design made by Perry. What's his name, Molly? Perry.
Gabriel.
Perry gave shout out to Perry, who was there back with us back in 2020, figuring this all out. Uh, the inspiration for that came from, I mean, this is 2020, and we're going through, the kind of that the period of racial awakening and uprisings around the country, and so the design elements we pulled in were from protest posters, actually, and not just current day protest posters, but dating all the way back to the civil rights movement, all the way back to those um those kind of famous posters of them marching with the I am a man
Mhm.
on those like large placards that they were wearing. I think it was an NAACP led protest with the I am a man, uh those big banners they were wearing. David, do you remember those?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those letters, they were large, they were wide, they're blocky. They were also, protest posters they're done kind of quickly, and they're kind of painted on or done with large marker. And so we wanted to call back to that. And then the lettering for Common Power, it's always been imperfect. And it connects definitely to that, like, let's hurry up and make these signs because we got to get out and do the work. We're not going to make this perfect. And that being a part of our brand as we show up, but also our organization. Our organization has always been varying degrees of scrappy, as you and I talked about before, but not not trying to perfect the look and feel because we have work to do. Like, that's what should be conveyed in all of our designs. It should be authentic. Like, all of our images, there are no stock photography in our images. These are all real people that have done the work, and it's, as recent as possible and as relevant as possible. And then the lettering should look like these people wanted to be super clear. It has a level of artistic nature to it, and also it's like just enough because we have work to do. Go ahead, Willow. You got some more to add to that, or Wole, do you have some more to add to that from the beginning of our kind of logo brand image?
Yeah, I think you said it all really well. The when we first saw the logo, you can scroll, or yeah, you can zoom in a bit and you'll see the folds in the paper. Um, there's just a lot of attention to detail that went into creating these letters. And so it gives it a really unique look. And I think it's been something that we like to build off of within marketing. That's why you can see the paper background and a lot of the work that we do. And I think it just, kind of evolved with these red letters that Willow has put together. So yeah, you can share more about that.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to the process, the mindset, like, or the thought process of it, like you were saying earlier, David. Um, like starting at CP, like can already recognize the branding was strong in the bold lettering, like more text focused designs and such. And when I first started, I think with surface level understanding of how urgent and how fast paced, like not only our programs are, but just like the content we need to put out, that it's easier to use like a digital font and type it up quickly and then put it out. And that's kind of like, oh, maybe the same energy of that urgency, but it doesn't really speak to like the intention of the branding. And, you know, it slows down the process to make something that's handwritten and also like in the branding that was made before me, that all the letters that are handwritten, like in the logo or any other text that we use that are similar, they're all individual images of these hand drawn, you know, this hand drawn alphabet basically. So it slows down the process a lot of scaling these images, putting them next to each other, spelling out the word basically. Um, it slows it a lot down than just typing it out from like any other font. Um, and so there's a lot more intentionality with deciding to pick that and to hand drawn or to place all these images rather than type it out. Um, and I think it helps keep consistent and like um, more, yeah, intentional to like what the branding is and what it's supposed to represent. And so I've already had that kind of understanding, like starting this campaign and throughout like the last couple of years, you know, noticing like, I mean, like all, again, like our icons too at CP are all hand drawn. And we've always wanted to lean into like, to continue that basically. Always hear from Charles too, of like, yeah, that we're all about that and like want to do more hand drawn things. And so definitely for this campaign and this year in general, like I just wanted to like lean into that more. Um, and so first drafts of this campaign was just my like normal handwriting, like writing out the words, doing some scaling to like try to like make it look all the same size or move things around. But my handwriting, it was a little, I mean, I have decent handwriting, but it was a little harder to read than something as bold and clear and like boxy almost as our, you know, Common Power font. And so
No,
that was
it's
first
great.
draft.
Yeah, you don't need great. You don't need really good handwriting. You need just need to care about what you're doing. This is great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, but this, like, the text that it is now in this campaign is like the second draft where I chose something like a little more bolder, thicker lines. I mean, all, yeah, every letter is like drawn. All
It's
like the
unique.
three
Yeah.
E's. Yeah, every E, like the three E's are, they're not copied from each other. They're all
Yep.
individual. The whole words are written out. Um, and they're all like their own images, so I can able to move them around, scale them, tilt them. There's still some
Okay.
freedom, you know, I'm not directly drawing them onto the actual asset. There's some freedom, but it's definitely intentional to have that type of texture, to have that movement in what the letters are. And coming up with the design, actually, when I was doing original sketches, I was in a coffee shop that was right outside of a bus station, so I could see buses and their ads going by while I was sitting there, just to see what is the similar layout that other people are doing, or what looks good and what doesn't. And you know, I could be like, oh no, I don't like that at all. Let me try something different.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and it was actually what came up with this idea where we have the text that's overlapping with, you know, our background. Like this, the white edge is meant to be like the end of the space. The text is supposed to overlap with that. I think I saw just graffiti on a bus and how it went over the entire ad. And I was like, I mean, we're trying to be bold. We're trying to like put something that stands out. I wanted
Hmm.
something that looked similar to that in the best way I could. And so that's where a lot of the elements that they overlap, they cut out, you know, just remind me a lot of like the hand drawn elements that CP already has. So I leaned into that. So that's why it looks like that. And in the second half, we have a similar layout where there's three different photos that are blended together. These are all from Nevada, actually, a recent trip that we had. These are some of the same volunteers you'll see in other ads. Um, but yeah, three separate photos that I put together to try to like paint a similar image.
That's great. Can you show us get a couple other ones that are teed up there? Can you show those?
Yeah, let me see if they're different. Oh, here's a similar layout that's in a interior card a of the light rail with the volunteer for voters. Can you see again? Just the
Yeah.
image also interacting with the
With the
text and
letters. Yeah. I
mhm.
love how you play with the
Mm.
levels on this. That's really creative. And then the other one.
Yeah, let me see which one I pulled up. Oh, yeah, this is
Yeah.
another poster. It's on the transit. It's called the Michaelangelo poster, I
It's
believe.
on the
It's
ceiling.
overhead. Yeah. So this was fun to do. Similar photos with our other phrase, more action, less politics. And again, this is a little different. Like there's photos on top of each other. They're not cut up or blended like the other ones, but wanted to represent some more of this. Greg, the great volunteer that's on the corner.
Yeah,
Got
it's
to
got a
be
lot of
in it too.
energy. So
Oh
this
yeah.
is one of those things where, where the where the image is matters a ton, right? So on the other ones where it's really large and you're driving, you have to be able to convey a statement as people are driving by and have them catch the statement, get the emotional ping, and then look at the name of the organization, right? So like the first one that you pulled up has that volunteer for voters. Volunteer is an anchor word. Voters is an anchor word there. You got the positive emotion. Can you go show the first one real quick? You got the positive emotion from the people who are smiling and stuff. And then you've got the website very clear. This is great. This is like, if I'm driving past this, I kind of understand it right away. Whereas the Michelangelo is a bunch of, and that's a term, David, for this is the the bus company told us these are called Michelangelos because it's on the ceiling of the bus. But you can imagine like you're sitting in the bus and you're there for, I don't know, an hour or 30 minutes or something, and people aren't looking at each other. They're they're looking at their phones or they're looking up. And so you have a lot more time to kind of figure out what this is and look at the different pictures and analyze it. And it's got a few different messages here visually and in text.
I
Mhm.
I really love all of this, and I'm in awe. I am. I mean, to me, it's the same care that goes into our field work, that goes into our education, that goes into our leadership development. I love it all. Thank you, Wole and Willow. I want to ask a couple questions just like that I think maybe people listening might want to know. So you said we have 6 billboards. Wole, where are they at in Seattle?
Yeah, we focused primarily on, I need
Okay.
post abilities to share, but we focused primarily on North Seattle. Um, and we still do have a few in South Seattle as well. Can you make me a co-host?
Oh yeah, I sent it over. You didn't get to you. Okay.
No.
Yeah, so while he's doing this, they kind of give us some choices around the city after we detail what we're looking for. We're looking for people who look like our volunteer community, um, and the folks who we don't get naturally. So we're looking for folks that are, we get a lot of retired people naturally, and we're looking for the harder to get people. So we're thinking, where do people work? Where do people live in Seattle who live in the city proper, who commute into maybe, downtown or Cap Hill or something like
Okay.
that
Uh-huh.
to work, right? Where are the people who are the harder to get folks, which are millennials and Gen Xers? Where do they live and where do they commute in from? And then for the buses, we're trying to capture college students mostly. But go ahead, Wole.
Yeah, the current billboards are starting here in North Seattle. We have a few or one in Greenwood. Um, these red signals are showing posters, which are slightly smaller than billboards, but still pretty big. So we have a few up here, and then we have our large billboard um, right here. The location is, I want to say, yeah, West Woodland area. So as you go down, we also have big a big banner in Queen Anne right across the street from the crocodile. So I'd encourage you to go check that out. That's like on street level view, so you can walk by and take a picture. It's really cool to see. That was with a different company, so it's not showing here, but Then we have a few with our deal that were thrown in. Um, well, they're in downtown, and then as you go down, we have a few in South and West Seattle that were thrown into the deal as well. So, yeah, you can just keep your eyes open. You're more than likely going to see one of the billboards, or buses and um, ads in the transit. So that's the other part to all of this, is the transit ads. And so we're on the bus system, but also the light rail that goes through Seattle, and then the new light rail that's in Bellevue as well. So that's a part of the campaign too.
So I get a chance to see, as one of the directors here in the organization, I get a chance to see budgets that are planned, and like this is not outrageously expensive. You have somehow managed to do this in a way, you, Charles, et al., have managed to do this in a way where it's very cost efficient and cost effective, which is the way we try to do everything at CP. It's absurd, actually. But the fact is that you've been able to do that. And so, like, what is that because these things just don't cost that much money? Or is it because there's some strategy behind where you're putting the things? Or is it because of the billboard market isn't that, or these broad public places aren't that expensive generally? What's that, without talking costs, because we're not at liberty to discuss total costs here, but the reality is, like, it's way less than I would have expected, and I love that.
Yeah, let me here, go off a screen share here. Let me start with this, and then Wole can say his piece after. Wole is one of the best negotiators in the organization. Okay. One of the best. I have seen him arguing with the rental car company after we returned the cars. Okay, about what they charged us. And it's not even like, it's not even his money. He thought it was outrageous that they added some fee or something in there. So Wole is, I mean, he would probably give you a run for your money, David, if we had him on the donor side. He knows how to get a good deal. He really does, and that's on everything. That's everything. Well, go ahead, because he won't say that, so I gotta say it.
You're a pretty good negotiator too. I'm with a lot of good negotiators, you and David. So that's part of the equation. The other part of it is the fact that, yeah, these aren't that expensive. I think when we see billboards, we're thinking thousands of dollars, and yeah, you can actually work out deals with the billboard companies and the transit companies as well to get your ads on there. So that's part of it. And then also, I think we're really direct and intentional about who we're trying to target. We're not trying to cover or blanket all of Seattle and Washington with our ads, because that wouldn't be effective. Our fieldwork team has like great data to show who's with us and how many volunteers we still need. And so with that being said, we're able to figure out within our with our ads, like, who do we need to target? And that helps us be more specific and, yeah, just tailored with our budget about how we're spending our money. So yeah, there's a mix of things that go into it. And then also a great thing is the work that we do. Once we share about our volunteers, the work we do, our mission as Common Power, a lot of these ad companies and even venues, when we want to do events, will work with us to cut us deals because they believe in our mission, and they want to be a part of pushing that forward. So
and that's happening a lot this year everywhere.
Where
people know about our work, and they move towards us on pricing, on availability. And this is when we rent stuff. This is when we get like event space, like all kinds of stuff. People are like, we're down for the cause.
That's really interesting to me. I have heard you mention that before, and just right now it's kind of clicking in my head that it's the equivalent of like someone wanting to give us money. right? That they feel moved and inspired and committed to the cause and the work. And so they say, I want to support you all. This is another mechanism of support. That's what this is. These folks offering us these pricings and these opportunities. It's another way of development in my kind of mind here of like, and that's really awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
Not to get not to run afoul of any campaign financing issues, David Domke. But so like they're not like donations, you know, they're definitely price breaks is what they are.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't
Okay.
We don't want to get the billboard company in trouble with the, you know, with the federal government. So yes.
That's right. I remember this reminds me of a podcast we did a couple years ago where I said we were making bets on there, and you're like, we're not making bets, people. People,
like,
we're not making bets. Okay.
Shut it down. That's right.
Okay. I want to ask one last question. Just because this is the journey into your work, Wole and Willow, and I know there's been other people that have worked on this with you and has built this excellent work. What's like for those folks who like have never heard you talk about this stuff because we don't feature it all the time. What's like one really great reason that you like working and doing marketing as we do it at Common Power? What's an element of the work at Common Power that you're like, yeah, this is part of the reason I'm here?
Well, I'll go ahead.
I'll go first.
Okay, I was wondering, yeah, if who was inspired for us to say anything? Because that is a good question. I mean, I do think about it every once in a while. Um, like I studied in school to work in advertising, specialized in design, and hopefully when I got out of college, I was like, oh, hopefully there's a demand, for that. There's a lot of industries that need designers or advertising, and so there's spaces where I can do similar work, civil or physical work in other companies that want billboards, need designers, this and that, whatever. But it feels definitely way more personal to be involved in an organization that has a strong message, takes such strong action. Um, and it just gets into like personal values of, politics and the importance of it and how it does play out in every aspect of our lives. And it's something I've always been aware of. And so to be able to blend those two things together of personal values and the work I do, it builds a lot more purpose into like what I do in my day to day. I can feel isolated on my laptop doing the designs and working, messaging people, this and that. But ultimately, I know it's like these designs I'm doing are there to, help volunteers be informed, be encouraged, and support our fieldwork team in, sharing messaging or this and that for our volunteers as well. That happens more often than maybe I see, especially when people see these billboards and how it makes them feel and such. So it just builds on the meaningfulness of things. I don't feel like I'm, doing these designs for nothing just to get the money or have my work be out there. It's, there's a lot more that goes into it. So that's where I stand.
Thanks, Willow.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly of how you're able to align your values, your personal values with the work that we do. And I feel that strongly with Common Power. I would also say that with being on the marketing communications team, we are kind of in this cross section where we get to touch and work with all the different departments within Common Power. And so to be able to provide support and to amplify like the messages of uh, the work that the Institute is doing or the work that we're doing with CP Future and empowering young people. I love being able to just see the different projects and initiatives that we're doing across the organizations and across the organization and being able to support them in that. That's a really rewarding part of the job for me. And lastly, just the messaging that we're able to create and put out in the world during times like this. I love keeping up with politics. I'm a community organizer. I see the intersection in both, and um, I I think it's a really important space that people have to tend to tune out of, whether that's through um, just not believing that politicians or the space is able to help with their actual needs, or maybe they just get annoyed by what they're seeing, and how the politics is being covered. But to be able to like find messaging and create art, create ads that breaks through the noise and reaches people who wouldn't normally care about volunteering, politics, civics. Um, I think that's an exciting challenge for me. So being able to work on that with, someone as talented as Willow, who's genuinely one of my favorite designers that I've been able to work with, and I've worked with a lot of designers, very talented. I think the whole marketing team and throughout Common Power, we just have a lot of talented individuals, and being able to work on one of the biggest elections of our lifetimes. With thousands, hundreds of volunteers that are willing to travel and knock on doors. It's a really unique space to be in. And during this time, I'm really grateful that I'm able to do this work with Common Power. So
That's awesome. And
yeah.
I mean, to both of you, I hope that people get from this, it's conveyed through this episode, but you all put so much heart into this. Like, you care so much about the way that you communicate who we are, and down to the details of every letter. I hope that people get from this that you care about every letter, in addition to everything in between. And you do a hell of a job telling people who we are. Thank you all for your work that you do with us.
For
Yeah,
sure.
thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. I think that's it for this one. David, want to wrap us up?
Sure. Wole, man, your leadership of this organization has been great. Just everything Charles said, I appreciate you, man. And Willow, you have come in and made us even better. And that is really awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just struck in the three of you, and with you, including Charles, because you're the glue, Charles. So I appreciate all of this, you guys, so much. Awesome. Thanks for taking some time today.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.